Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our OPA call tonight, November 8th. Oh my gosh, Thanksgiving is almost here and the year is almost ending, 2021. It's nice to see you all. I'm glad you're here tonight at our OPA call, second Monday of every month. Just as a brief introduction as far as what OPA is, OPA stands for Organic Products Associates. And that name was given to it by our founders, Mary and Gary Loomis. When they started their business way back when, they built a very terrifically successful, solid, large business. But Mary wanted to give this business a name that wasn't associated directly with her, that could be associated with anybody in the organization, and anybody in the organization would be part of the overall encompassing family of OPA. So she gave the name Organic Products Associates, OPA for short. And she and her husband, Gary, ran the business, as I said, very successfully for many years. One of the things I remember most about Mary is when she called you, whenever we would talk to her, she would be able to talk to us about people in our organization that we may have mentioned, 6 months ago. And she remembered everything we said about them. And to this day, I still don't know if she had a notebook in front of her, but I'm betting not. I think it was all from her mental notebook. It was just astounding. What a lady, what a guy. They were fabulous. They set a real legacy for OPA. And then they passed it on to her son, their son, Robert, Rob, as we call him, Loomis. He's up in Boston. And Rob was successful in his own right as a lawyer, author, and professor at Michigan. And he took over the business. I don't remember the exact year, as a matter of fact, but he is now running the business, and we're excited that he is that generational link to OPA. And tonight, well, each month, the OPA call is run by one of the OPA master coordinators. There are about 9, 10, or 11 master coordinators in the OPA, and this is our month. And then when it's our month, we find a speaker and we conduct the call. These calls are archived at OPA Stuff, thanks to our Scott and Sue Holdren, the technical gurus of the OPA. They do all the recording and technical stuff that really is outstanding. So our guest speaker tonight, we are very excited to have Martha Wilmore. Many of you probably have heard of Martha along the way, heard some of her tapes, heard some of her talks. She is really quite a woman. She previously worked as a legal secretary and an administrative assistant for several corporations. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think when you get past the talk speak, it means she ran the company and instead of the people that got the credit for it. She is also internationally known as an educator and author in the field of complementary healthcare. Martha has been the wellness consultant at the Holistic Chiropractic Clinic and Health Center in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Yes, Ontario. Martha is from our neighbor up north, the country of Canada. And she's been there with that clinic for the past 20 years. Now listen to this. She's also the author of over 100, yes, that's 100 published health articles. Wow. And one of the really neat things is Martha is available for individual consultations. She's very, very good at that. And that's done by appointment. And you can contact her if you would be interested in something like that. Quite reasonable, I might add. And throughout her business career in natural health, she's been a very proud distributor of Shaklee products for over 40 years. Wow. Looks like she was out of the cradle into Shaklee. You look at her picture up there on the screen. Her husband, Ivan, is her partner in life up in Ontario, and they are the proud parents of 2 grown children and 2 grandchildren. And we just found out in our chat earlier that one of her children lives in the United States across the border. And during COVID, isn't this sad? They had to wave to each other because they couldn't cross the border to visit. Ooh, not pretty. But tonight, she's going to give us an outstanding presentation. And it's also going to be leading into how you build a business, because Martha, besides having those credentials of a tremendous wellness consultant, she's built a very, very successful business, and herself is a very successful Shackley Master Coordinator. So you're really in for a fantastic treat tonight, hearing Martha Wilmore. And I'm going to turn the call over to Hannah. We are in the same room, so we have to mute ourselves on one of the computers. So Hannah, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me? Wait a minute. Better turn this up. Hi, everyone. And you'll have to mute. Okay. I can hardly wait myself to get to hear Martha tonight. As for the many times, I've always been super impressed. I always take tons of notes. So I hope you have a notebook and paper and a pen in front of you, because I know you're going to write and take notes that are going to help you to help a lot of other people, even more than you have already. So Martha, we would love to have you come on and take over, and I might interrupt to ask some questions here or there, but I'm going to let you pretty much rule because I know you have a lot to share.
Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much, Alan and Hannah, for asking me to share tonight. It's always a privilege to talk to people about their health, because we can really impact individuals when we share ways to improve your health. And certainly there's no price tag that we can put on good health. So this has been a passion of mine for a long time. And initially I'm going to share with you my personal story so you'll understand why it's been my passion. Tonight's talk we're calling the 10 rules for optimal health. And these are not uniquely my rules. Some of you remember Dr. Lee Coyne, probably have heard Dr. Lee Coyne when he used to do training. And these were 10 rules that I learned from him back in the 80s and that are so practical. And I have shared them with people for many, many years. So I'm going to briefly just share my story very quickly. This is a picture of my husband and I when we were married 50 years ago on June 5th. And none of us know what the pathway is ahead for us when we begin a relationship together. And we certainly did not realize that there was going to be major health challenges. These are my two children when they were little, David and Wendy, and here they are grown. This was me and our first child in 1973 when I was struggling with lupus. And most of you recognize lupus as an autoimmune disease. And that was not fun. Lupus, of course, can affect many areas of the body that you see listed here in this graphic. And it was difficult, I must say. I'm glad I have not experienced any lupus symptoms now for almost 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So then when I was my second child in 1977, our son, halfway through the pregnancy, I was diagnosed with cancer. It was leukemia. And of course, that was a terrifying time for us. And certainly it made me fear how this was affecting the baby that I was carrying. It was as a result of that I began to do a lot of reading about natural health. Of course, back then, the Reader's Digest had a lot of articles about health, if any of you remember that. But as a result of doing a lot of reading, I started to take a number of supplements, and I mean a lot of supplements. And I took handfuls of supplements for 3 years. However, the leukemia was progressing. And of course, every time we had a family birthday, I would wonder if that was going to be our last family birthday celebration that I would be a part of. When my son was about 3 years later, that's when my doctor told me that I was terminal, that the leukemia was 4th stage, it was acute and aggressive. And he told me that I probably had less than 6 months left to live and that I should get my life in order. Then on June 5th, 1981, now I don't know if you remembered that our anniversary, when I showed our wedding picture, was June 5th, 1971. So on June 5th, 1981, I was invited to attend a Shackley event. I had run into a man in our area in the grocery store, and he invited me to attend a Shackley meeting. I had never heard of it before. He actually was a pastor, so I thought, well, then maybe this is a prayer meeting or something, and I knew that I could use a lot of prayer. But anyway, he told me that what Shackley was, a natural health company, and he invited me to come, and it was the night of our anniversary. And my husband said to me, well, why don't you go? We'll celebrate, the next night. Why don't you go and see if there's something that you can learn there that might help you? So I did, and I that was my introduction to Shackley, and I always call Shackley the gift of quality. And of course, if you are familiar with Shackley, you know that that's what Shackley is all about. It's about quality products that can change your life. So this is a picture of my son when he was married 20 years ago, and I'm so thankful to have still been alive to be able to attend that meeting, because when you're told you might have only 6 months left, that felt like somebody put a tight noose around my neck. This is a picture of our daughter. She is a surgeon. She is single, and she has been a volunteer surgeon training other surgeons in Tanzania, Africa for the last 9 years. So this is our family. That's my son and our daughter, and my husband and our 2 grandchildren. And I am so glad to still be here to enjoy all of them. So I learned a lot about Shackley, I learned a lot about quality after I was introduced to Shackley. And of course, I changed all of the products in our home, and our home became a Shackley home. A lot of people question, is supplementation essential? And they'll often say, but I want to get all of my nutrients in food, not pills. And I'm sure you have all heard that statement as well. And I just like to show people charts like this that shows how, due to a variety of reasons with regard to the soil and commercial farming, etc., that food is or the soil is devitalized, and as a result of that, food does not carry the same amount of nutrition as it used to. So there's just a few vegetables here that you see listed, and comparing from 1914 to 1997. And of course, that's over 20 years ago, but you can see the big dive that was recorded in those years with regard to just common vegetables. And so modern agriculture focuses on yield, not on nutrient value. They talk about how many bushels per acre. And of course, we can't fool the cells. The cells have to have quality nutrition to repair and to recover. Yeah. Now, this is a Canadian statistic, but usually the US is a little bit worse than us. But I just wanted to share with you a statistics that was shared maybe about 5 or 6 years ago from the Cancer Society in Canada. And what they were forecasting is in 2005, the numbers of cancer, and then compared to what they're proposing would probably be the case by 2030. And you can just see they're expecting huge increases. And then they listed the 4 most common cancers. And you can see lung cancer, prostate cancer, they're anticipating a 97% increase in breast cancer, and colorectal bowel cancer, 79%. And so this is what they're projecting. And the way they deal with it is to build bigger hospitals and bigger cancer wings. So in order to treat the disease, as compared to, I always like to talk to people about, let's do everything we can to reduce our risk of developing disease. But what you don't know can harm you. And so I always say to people, you want to be informed and to be very proactive to guard your health and protect your health and reduce your risk of disease. Because health is gained or lost at the cellular tissue level, and that's what must be addressed for total wellness. Of course, it's not a secret anymore that there's a lack of integrity in the natural health and wellness industry. And so a lot of people are disappointed with the results that they're getting because we cannot fool ourselves. What you pay for, and the disappointment of poor quality remains long after the price is forgotten. So you must be an informed consumer. And so I always say to people, show me the science. What about the quality controls on raw materials? Show me the guarantee that your products carry when people are talking about quality issues with regard to supplements. And so it's always a pleasure to point out what the Shaklee difference is. And I'm not going to talk a lot about the Shaklee difference tonight because I'm sure that you already know that, or many of your leaders have spent good time sharing that with you. But the 5 issues that I mentioned briefly to individuals is the product formulation process, and whether or not products have live enzymes, whether or not the product is contaminated or bioavailable, and if the label integrity is there, and if the product is stable. And there's so many examples that we can save and show to people as examples that these are things that we must be aware of as a consumer. So as a result of my own return of good health, I'm 70 at this point, and I'm on no medication, no drugs, pharmaceuticals at all, and I'm thankful for that. And I love to point people to being good caretakers of their own health. And so I have turned a passion into a livelihood, and Shaklee has been my full-time career for many months and years. So let's get back to these 10 rules for optimal health that I promised to share with you. And once again, I want to express appreciation to Dr. Lee Coyne for sharing them with me many years ago. So first of all, let's just look at a few stats here. This slide says now is the time to get healthy. And these are slides that I often will use when I'm talking to people who are perhaps not using supplements, or where we want to talk about quality issues, and I'm encouraging them to change brands. So of course, we know that the leading causes of death are heart disease, cancer, stroke, and diabetes, and that heart disease is 80% preventable, and cancer 60% preventable, and strokes 80% preventable, and diabetes 90% preventable. And so these are what the stats show us. And allopathic medicine agrees that with those percentages, we can really impact and improve our health. And yet, on the other hand, we know that there's a lot of obesity, and we know that 9 out of 10 North Americans fall short of 1 or more nutrients in their diet. So supplementation makes a lot of sense. And so those percentages are true, and we really need to be informed and need to make a difference. Rule number 1 is you must take responsibility for your own health. And if you don't take care of yourself, who will? And that's just pretty much common sense, right? We don't have to elaborate on that much. But we've often heard people say, if I knew that I was going to live so long, I would have taken better care of myself. And that is very, very sad, because we do see a lot of people suffering tremendously, and that is not quality life at all. Rule number 2 is to stop putting poison in and on the body. And so in other words, to eliminate avoidable toxins. And so I have fallen in love a long time ago with Shaklee's cleaning products, because when I first was diagnosed with cancer, I'd never thought about my cleaning products impacting my health, and how the toxins that they contained compromising my immune system. But boy, and when I heard it at that very first Shaklee meeting, it made total sense. And I must say that I often will tell people that I went home that night and I put everything that was toxic in a box, and I gave it to one of my enemies. And that really isn't true, but it's kind of a good joke. It always brings a laugh. But I went home that night from the first Shackley event that I went to, and I did box up a lot of stuff that I knew would contain chemicals that could compromise my immune system. And I went through the catalog and I placed a big order, and I immediately got replaced my existing products with safer products. So I love these products and I love to share them with people. And I also love to share with people our skincare and how Shackley has intentionally avoided the use of over 2,500 toxic ingredients that are commonly found in other brands of skincare products. And so it's just a wonderful gift to have such quality products to use and to share with others. Rule number 3 is to drink pure water. We should have a ½ ounce per pound of body weight daily. And so then, a lot of people are using some sort of filter or some kind of or some sort of pitcher or some kind of a filter or purchasing filtered water. But I always say to individuals, you need to know as a consumer how many contaminants you are removing when you filter your water. And so this slide just shows, an example of 3 different water pitchers that are popular, but the Shackley Get Clean one removes lead, which the others don't, and it removes 56 other contaminants compared to 6 and 23. So being informed about these important issues is very, very important, and I just love to share them with people. Rule number 4 is to eat as close to nature as possible. So to choose organically grown as much as possible and to avoid genetically modified food, and to make sure that you include lots of raw food in your food choices. Rule number 5, it takes 6 to 7 times the normal amount of nutrition to build and repair than to maintain health. And when you look at this picture of a 1 plate of food compared to 7 plates of food, there's no way that we're going to eat 6 to 7 times as much food because we'd all look like a blimp. But the reality is, in order to build and repair, the needs are great. And often people will start to take maintenance nutrition and expect it to bring better results. And that is not a rule of health. It's unrealistic that the body can repair on maintenance nutrition. And so this is a very, very important rule. Then rule number 6 is that nothing heals the human body in less than 3 months. And then you add on 1 month for every year of the illness. And, we all want to be well quickly. We can all be impatient. That's just a trait of human beings, isn't it? But I remember I wanted to give you an example of one client or one person that I knew. He had multiple sclerosis, and it was advanced, and he had it for many years. And he got in touch with me, and he wanted to know what I would recommend that he take for his situation. And so I shared these rules with him, and he said, well, I'll start a program, and if I'm not better in 30 days, I'm going to quit. And I said to him, well, then, I know that I understand why you want to be well. I understand why you want to be well quickly, but the body doesn't work that way. And I know that you're going to be disappointed. And I would rather that you didn't even start a program than to have such unrealistic expectations that you should be well in 30 days. Well, he heard what I had to say, but he said, I'm gonna start a program anyway, and I'll find out for myself. Well, he didn't get well in 30 days. He did have some improvement, but he decided to quit after 30 days. So rebuilding and repair takes time. in the human body, because the red blood cells live for 120 days, and that's 4 months. And so we need to be very consistent when we are trying to help the body to overcome any kind of repair or rebuilding. We need to provide a smorgasbord of nutrients for an extended period of time. And so many people have unrealistic expectations, but I like to point them out in advance so that you try to put out fires before they start, right? And so I like to point out these rules to individuals in advance, and so they have a greater understanding of how to take care of their body, which is just an absolute miracle. Rule number 7 is to exercise regularly, and I don't think I need to elaborate there. I think we all know that we have to keep this body moving. And rule number 8 is to use a consistent, responsible food supplement program. And the reason being, we already briefly mentioned at the very beginning, if the soil is devitalized, our food is also will not carry as many nutrients as it did years ago. And so, and then when we look at the cancer stats that I showed earlier, I just say to people, when there's that much cancer in our world, and actually the US stats are even a little worse than the Canadian ones that I showed you, when there's that much degenerative disease happening in our world, doesn't it make sense to at least try to reduce our risk? And so supplementing just totally makes sense. But supplements don't treat symptoms. That's what drugs do. Food and supplements build health at the cellular tissue level, which in turn can correct underlying imbalance. And so we don't never tell people that the supplements are going to cure them or heal them, but we do know that health is gained at the cellular tissue level. And so that's why it makes sense to supplement and to be very consistent. Now here's rule number 9. Learn to relax and rest appropriately and purposefully, intentionally, and specifically manage stress. So of course, Shaklee has wonderful foundational products, but they also have some wonderful target products. And certainly when it comes to rest and relaxation, B complex is great for handling stress, and stress relief complex is just an awesome product. And of course they have the new sleep product called Dream Serene, which it contains some amazing natural ingredients that really support getting appropriate rest. And so we can't fool the body. Rest is required. That's when we actually manufacture hormones that cause healing to happen in the body. You know how if you have a bad rash on your arm or something, you go to the doctor and he'll give you a cortisone cream. And I'll say to people, so why isn't your body making enough cortisone to cause that healing, right? And we make our cortisone when we're sleeping. And so we want to allow time for those healing hormones to be created to help to restore the wear and tear that's happened to the body. Then rule number 10 is to laugh and love and to express love for your fellow man. And so we know how critical it is for to be loved. And so that is an important part of emotional wellness. And no human being is healthy without knowing that there are people that love and care for them. So those are 10 simple rules, but they make a lot of sense, right? And I do know that a lot of people have responded to where we talked about how long it takes for the body to repair cells. And when we talk about the quantity of nutrients, 6 to 7 times the normal amount of nutrition. And so that helps to make sense to individuals who are saying, I don't want to take a bunch of tablets. Well, then are you going to eat 6 to 7 times as much food? No, I don't think that's the answer either. So it's wonderful that we can have concentrated nutrients, which Dr. Shaklee, of course, was the founder of that, wasn't he, when he made the first known vitamin in the United States. The next thing I usually talk to people about is their digestive system. And because the health of the entire body is determined by the health of the digestive system, If our digestive system is faulty, then obviously we can't absorb nutrients the way that we should. And so we might be making great attempts and investments in buying good food and good supplements. But if the digestive tract needs support, we really need to support that. So we're not going to get in depth on the digestive system. That's a good hour talk on its own. But it's very, very important when the body is giving signals that the digestive tract is in need. It's certainly an area that we need to address a lot. As well, in the clinic where I work, I teach blood work classes, as well as I review people's blood work with them. And another area, when I'm looking at people's blood work, I always look at the health of their kidneys and the health of their liver, what the blood work is showing about that, because we must maintain healthy kidneys and healthy liver if we're going to have a healthy body. So these are some of the things that I share with people individually when we have an opportunity to sit down and talk about their health. And this is how I have built our Shackley business. Is just, I'm passionate about health. I'm so thankful that I regained mine. And I just love to help people experience that themselves. And we have built a very successful business doing so. Well, many times people come in with their supplements that they're already taking, or of course, often a shoebox full of medication as well. But anyway, when people come in with their supplements, I'll say to them, are you pleased with the quality, the purity, the results, and the guarantee of your current supplements? And most people have not answered that question or even thought about it. And so what I share with them is that many people have intentionally chosen to switch their brand of supplements to Shackley for those 4 reasons: quality, purity, results, and guarantee. And thousands have reported that changing brands has changed their life. And so then I will share with them that we're going to talk about their overall health and what I would suggest as a starting program, and I always will suggest Shackley products. Now, if there's time, depending on the individuals that I'm talking to and how much time they have to spend, I sometimes will get into the state of health in either Canada or the United States, depending on where the person lives. So these are some of the stats that I share with them, because I really want them to start to take supplements and to stick with it, that it is a consistent part of their life moving forward, rather than often people will start supplements and they're expecting to feel better. And if they feel better, then they quit. And they don't continue to want to nourish the cellular tissue. So I want to point out enough information to show them that this needs to become a lifestyle that we do for the rest of our life if we want to expect to maintain a better quality of life moving forward. And so these are stats in the US right now that people are dying younger, and there's a falling life expectancy in the US because of health situations. In fact, you can see the links where I got some of this information, but 54% of US children live with at least one chronic health condition, such as diabetes and obesity and asthma. And 1 in 5 North Americans have allergies and asthma. That's a terrible statistic, isn't it? Neurological disorders were the 3rd leading cause of death as of 2014 in the United States. These autism numbers: 1970, 1 in 10,000, 1975, 1 in 5,000, 1985, 1 in 2,050. And now look at it: 2004, 1 in 166. And in 2018, 1 in 59. And so I just say to people, we need to look at getting rid of the chemicals in our environment and eliminating chemicals as much as possible, etc. And so that this is a big discussion on its own, but those numbers are staggering. And then cancer is the #1 cause of childhood death in the United States. And the #1 reason blamed for childhood deaths in America used to be accidents, and now it's cancer. Now, 1 in 2.5 people will be impacted by cancer in their lifetime. 9 years ago, it was 1 in 10 people would be impacted by cancer in their lifetime. So these statistics are changing way too fast. For both children and young adults, cancer is consistently within the top 3 to 5 causes of death. And the incidence of colorectal cancer alone is expected to shoot up by 90% in 20 to 34-year-olds under the next decade. And these are just projected statistics. Diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death for 15 to 44-year-olds and the 6th leading cause of death for those between their 40s and mid-50s. That's still young, isn't it? And so we need to take responsibility for our health. We need to be consistent with the choices that we make in order to not be one of the statistics that are frightening to read. North American statistics show that someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's every 67 seconds. And so when people say, why do you take all these supplements all the time? Are you sick? And I'll say, I was, but I'm trying to keep well and trying to reduce my risk of disease. And then I often will, these are some of the slides that I have on my computer, obviously, or I also have them in a binder that I can grab and go someplace and have them quickly readily available to show people and cause them to consider a philosophy of life and lifestyle of living differently, because the stats are showing us that the stats look pretty. So food might look pretty in the store, but does it contain the nutrients that it should and like it used to? Like I mentioned earlier, I come from a family of farmers, and the focus was always on how many bushels per acre they got, because that's what they got paid for. But that's really not where health begins. It's what nutrition we have. So, as I told you earlier, I've turned a passion into a livelihood, and it's been a great joy and privilege to work with many, many individuals. And I have customers from 40 years ago that were some of my very first customers 40 years ago, and some of them have built a business like I have. And so Shaklee, many of you know, celebrating 65 years of making healthy happen, and I'm thankful for the level of health that I experience. But the reality is, like I said earlier, there's a lack of integrity in the natural health and wellness industry. And so we really must be aware. It can be a very corrupt industry. And I often say that to individuals. I'll say, I realize there's a lot of corruption in the natural health industry. And let me just tell you why I have chosen to use Shaklee products, and why after 40 years I'm still using Shaklee products. And so I like to collect information that proves to people what's going on with quality, because I tell them that the industry can be corrupt. And so this is actually a clean label project that was done in 2018, and it just speaks for itself, because examples and stories impact people's decisions, right? So this was a protein powder study, and it was based on 134 different kinds of proteins that were the top selling protein powders according to Amazon and Nielsen as the bestseller list. So that's what it was. They got the information from Amazon and Nielsen, the 134 of the top selling protein products. So this is, they tested whey and hemp and soy and organic and plant-based and non-GMO, all kinds of varieties of protein products. And so you will recognize some of these labels you've probably seen in health food stores, etc. And certainly the marketing was slick. It looked pretty enticing. And I'm not here to knock anybody's products whatsoever. I'm just here to just tell you what the results were. So what they found of those 134 different types of products, that 74% of them had detectable levels of cadmium. And that's a very dangerous heavy metal. And 70% of them had detectable levels of lead, which is deadly to the human brain. And so, those are top sellers, and people are unaware that quality is such an important thing. And so fish oils is another product, and many of you saw this in the news, how a whole lot of different fish oil products, they were all under lawsuit for contaminated oils, making fish oil products because they know that they're important for heart health, etc. And we know that heart health is the #1 killer. So I take Shaklee's fish oils, but I tell you, if they're contaminated, that's not what you want. Then this was something, it was a FDA, a Food and Drug Administration, where they nearly 800 dietary supplements that were sold over the counter from 2007 to 2016 contained unapproved drug ingredients. And this is what was discovered by this FDA test. And the study was published in the JAMA Network, showed that more than one unapproved pharmaceutical ingredient was found in 20% of the supplements that were tested. And so the study commentator said that the FDA's failure to aggressively use all available tools to remove pharmaceutically adulterated supplements from commerce leaves consumers' health at risk. And so I just saved some of these kinds of things to show people that quality is a big deal when it comes to supplements. If you're going to commit to take supplements daily to protect your health, and yet some are contaminated with lead or cadmium or have traces of drugs in them, this could have different consequences than you are hoping for. Then, of course, many of you are familiar with the FDA study that was done in 2008, where they randomly tested multiple vitamins for women and children for lead contamination, and over 320 were found to be contaminated. And 74 of them were prenatal vitamins, and 124 of them were multivitamins for kids. That all contain lead, and their brains are being formed in those early years, and lead being in a multivitamin that is taken every day when the brain is being formed, that's just looking for disaster. And so all of these contaminated brands are still being sold, and so it's very, very important that people are aware of this. And then there's all those little white lies that are allowed on labels. So this is an example. If one ingredient among many is non-GMO, a company might label the product made with non-GMO ingredients just because one was non-GMO, and maybe several of the others are GMO. And so there's lots of little white lies that are allowed on labels and those. So I love to show people examples like this, because many people will complain. They'll say, but Shaklee supplements are expensive, or they're more expensive than what they saw in the health food store, or they're more expensive than something that they got off the shelf for a bargain. And they'll say, I can get cheaper ones at Walgreens. And I will say, look, if you are going to go up in a plane and jump out in a parachute, would you get the cheapest one, or would you get the best quality one going? And if you want to repair and rebuild and maintain your body, you need to look for quality, because you can't fool the cells. Like you heard me say earlier, health is gained or lost at the cellular tissue level. And so you need to look for quality, because otherwise I guarantee you will be disappointed. And so it's been my pleasure, my joy to be sharing Shaklee for these 40 years, 40 of the 65 years that Shaklee has been a corporation. And I just love to share it with people. And I just invite them to join us, to use the products for their own health. And if you fall in love with them, as I have, you can share them with others and create a substantial income. And so I have built my business a lot around the value and the benefits of Shaklee products. And as a result, we've developed a great business, and I am so thankful that we have been able to change so many lives along the way, both physically and financially. because people are really paying attention more to their health these days. They know that the immune system will help to protect them from disease, and we want to have an optimal immune system. And I'm certainly finding that individuals are paying more attention, and so it's a wonderful business to get into right now, to help people, to protect their health. But also, our economy is in a bad way. Lots of people have become unemployed in the last couple of years, and many are expecting that to happen very shortly. So we have a very valuable commodity to share with individuals for a variety of reasons. So I invite you to turn a passion into a livelihood. I don't know if you're a consumer of Shaklee or I've never spoken to this group before, so I have no idea who I'm really talking to. But if you love the Shaklee products, share them with others so that you can give them an opportunity to thrive health-wise as well as financially in this very broken world that we live in. So that's the end of my slides, Al and Hannah.
Oh. Well, first of all, fabulous. Yeah, as many times as I've heard you, and as long as we've been in Shaklee, I still had pages and pages for notes. But one thing I'd love for you to share with us before we open up for questions and answers, and your chance to answer those questions, I just wanted to ask you, having that expertise that you do, I'm sure that there's some people that would say, well, I can't do what you do because you have all this extra knowledge and all this expertise. And yet you've built a very successful organization, even having a master coordinator through you. So obviously you've been very successful at being able to share the business too. So could you just speak to that for a minute or two about how you've achieved that?
Certainly, you are absolutely right that many people have said that to me. You work in a clinic, you're the wellness consultant there. Of course, it makes it easy. No wonder people believe you. But you know what? Everything that I just shared tonight is very simple facts that anybody could share. And yes, I could be far more technical. Yes, I could, review your blood work and tell you all about what the tests mean. But the reality is, you don't have to be able to do that. That's not copyable. Everybody is not able or willing or even wants to do that. And so I say to people, you want to just keep it simple and have good references. You don't have to be the expert, but you can share expert information. But you don't have to be the expert. And we can be just a baton passer of great information. And so everything that I shared there, it wasn't complicated. It's just basic facts. And so it certainly has persuaded a number of people to make a decision to make it a lifestyle of taking supplements for a lifetime, and as well to be very consistent. A lot of people will start to do good things, but they're not consistent. And I usually say that right off the bat. I'll say, make a commitment to be consistent and take your supplements every day. Make an allowance in your budget to, what you plan to invest in your health, because we can see by statistics, it's absolutely essential in today's world to take better care of our health and to do everything we can to protect it.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Anybody I know that you all want to applaud and thank Martha, but anybody have some questions? You can just take yourself off mute. We'd love to hear from you. Well, you might have just covered it all so well that there isn't a question left. Well, somebody speaking up? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought somebody wanted to speak.
Well, I wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Regina from Brooklyn. I wanted to know, how do I know what a person needs, which vitamins they need? Everybody's different and everybody has other needs. How can we tell to a person what they need? How would you recommend?
Okay, well, for one thing, I always refer to some nutrients as the foundational or essential nutrients. And certainly Shaklee has put together some packages of nutrients like the Vitalizer or the Life Strip that it would be wise for us to take as just a daily smorgasbord. We want to think of our bloodstream becomes a consistent smorgasbord in order to help to guarantee certain essential nutrients every single day there. So that's why Shaklee has those packages. So we always talk about a protein supplement and at least a multivitamin, but certainly one of the strips is a great idea. And then I always focus on probiotics are a required or are a requirement for a healthy body. And so that would apply to everyone. And then vitamin D, I'm sure that you've heard a lot about vitamin D these days and how it needs to be optimal. And so I will suggest to people to get their blood work done and to ask the doctor to check their vitamin D level. And usually when you get the results back, I mean, doctors don't typically give you a copy of your blood work unless you ask for it. So it's your right to ask for a copy of your blood work. And your vitamin D, they'll give a reference range of what they call the normal range. With vitamin D, you want to be at the very top of that normal range. And so when people want to start a program, Shaklee has some packages like the Prove It Challenge, so you can prove to yourself that the products work. That's a wonderful starting pack. Otherwise, people might use one of the protein supplements and one of the strips. But I always encourage people to definitely optimize their probiotics because that helps you to absorb all your nutrients from the food you eat as well as the supplements that you're taking. And you want to get optimal amounts of those nutrients. You don't want to have wastage. And so probiotics are essential. And Shaklee has two different ones, as you probably know, and they're packaged separately. There are several strains of probiotics. And they are utilized in different areas of the body, and so Shaklee has separated them. But they're very powerful and very essential for gut health because I mentioned earlier the digestive tract is so important for overall health. And if you have wonderful vitamins and choose wonderful food, but your digestive tract is not working properly, you won't be able to utilize. So it's interesting, most people don't know that we have 10 times more bacteria, or we need 10 times more bacteria in the body than we have cells. And the human body, scientists say, is made up of somewhere between 60 and 100 trillion cells. And we need 10 times more bacteria than we have cells. So that's a lot of bacteria. And so it's up to us to provide that for the human body. And there's a lot of things that we're exposed to on a daily basis that destroy good bacteria. I mean, just when we eat food alone, if there are traces of antibiotics and often in meat, that helps to kill bacteria. We have to always keep our numbers up and repopulate. And there's other things that kill the good bacteria as well. So that's a very, very important part of wellness. And so when I start a person, I'll always refer to those four things: a multivitamin or a multi-strip, protein, optimal vitamin D, and probiotics. And then we go from there and try to target. I'll say if you're 40, 45 years old, you want to be thinking about joint health complex because the body doesn't make as much glucosamine as you get older. And otherwise we might end up with suffering a lot with arthritis if we, don't have enough glucosamine. And certainly other products like a saw pimento, all men should start to use that as a proactive preventive product to help to reduce the prostate enlargement that is often a problem for men as they're aging. Also the blood pressure product, it's not called for high blood pressure or for low blood pressure. It's just called blood pressure. And that's because it contains nutrients that feed the lining of the blood vessels. And every blood vessel, and we have miles of blood vessels in the human body, but every blood vessel has a lining called the endothelial lining. And there are certain nutrients that nourish and feed that and help to keep it healthier so that it doesn't misbehave. And you know, a lot of people, as they get older, they have high blood pressure problems. And if we have a healthy endothelial lining, that's less likely to happen. And certainly part of the nutrients that are in that include magnesium. Magnesium is very, very lacking in our soil today. And potassium is another mineral that can be very, very lacking. And so those are two nutrients that are really important to maintain healthier blood pressure. So blood pressure is not designed to cure blood pressure problems. It's designed to nourish the lining of your blood vessels so that your body responds in a healthy manner as the heart pumps the blood through, right? So anyway, that was a long answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, very helpful, very informative. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Martha, this was just a fantastic, outstanding hour. Thank you so much. And since I'm in control, I'm going to give you the last minute, and then I'll take the last minute after that. Any closing last minute comment?
Well, I'm so glad that you've all been on this call. I don't know very many of you, but you know, life is fragile. And your body is a miracle machine, and it deserves the best of care. And I encourage you all to really be consistent with the care of the human body. Be careful what you eat. Choose your food wisely. Choose your supplements wisely. And I am so thankful that I stumbled across Shaklee. And I'm so thankful that I listened. You know, a lot of people are skeptical today because marketing can be very slick, and, you know, packaging can look beautiful and make lots of seem to make claims there that shouldn't be there. But you know, marketing is not what the cells need. The cells need quality, and I'm so thankful that Shaklee has focused and they actually obsess with quality or regarding quality. And so I'm so thankful that I discovered them, and it's just really been a gift to me. And I would encourage you to include it as a gift to yourself and with the people you love and care for. And I'm sure that some of you have been using it for a long time, and I plan to use it for the rest of my life and be very consistent. So carry on with taking good care of yourself.
Outstanding, Martha. What a fabulous, fabulous call. And the last thing I'd like to close with is a fabulous quote by a fabulous person who said, "You don't have to be the expert, but just share expert information." Martha Wilmore. Have a great rest of the month, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Glad you could join us. Get yourself off mute. Give a loud shout. Happy applause for Martha. Good night, good night, good night.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Night.
It was amazing.
Amazing, wonderful.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Martha.
Amazing, amazing, amazing.
Welcome.
Thank
This was
you.
great.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.